You notice it in yourself, the way you go quiet around someone you love, not because you have nothing to say, but because being near them is enough, and words sometimes feel like they would interrupt something sacred. For most of your life, you were probably told that silence is a problem, that good relationships mean constant communication, that love is expressed in words, in grand declarations, in someone always knowing what to say. And so you may have wondered quietly if something was wrong with you, because the deepest love you feel doesn't always come out in language. It comes out in presence, in noticing, in the way you hold space for someone without needing to fill it. This is not a flaw. This is a language. Silence, for the INFJ, is often the truest form of love, not withdrawal, not distance, but a very specific kind of quiet that says, I am here, and I don't need anything from you right now, and you don't need to perform for me. It is one of the most intimate things you can offer another human being, and almost no one recognizes it for what it is. Let's give this experience a name. Let's call it quiet attunement, because that is what is actually happening inside you when you go still around someone you love. You are not shutting down. You are tuning in. The psychiatrist Daniel Siegel, who developed the field of interpersonal neurobiology, has spent decades studying what he calls attunement, the process by which one nervous system reads and responds to another. He describes it as the felt sense of being seen from the inside, not observed, not analyzed, but truly felt by another person. Siegel found that attunement doesn't require words. In fact, words often get in the way. What creates the deepest sense of connection between two people is the quality of presence one offers the other, the steadiness, the willingness to simply be there without agenda. This is what you do naturally when someone you love is hurting. You don't rush to fix. You sit. You soften your body toward them. You match their breathing without realizing it. You become quiet so they can hear themselves think. This is not passivity. This is one of the most sophisticated forms of care a human being can offer, and it is deeply INFJ. Your dominant cognitive function, introverted intuition, works best in stillness. It needs quiet to do what it does, to sense patterns, to feel undercurrents, to know things about a person that they haven't said out loud. When you are with someone you love, your NI is not resting. It is reading them, noticing the small shift in their shoulders, the pause before they answer, the word they almost said and swallowed instead. You are gathering an enormous amount of information about their inner world, and you are doing it in silence, because silence is the only condition under which this kind of perception is possible. If you spoke constantly, you couldn't hear them, not the surface of them, the rest of them. And then there is your auxiliary function, extroverted feeling, Fey. Fey is the part of you that cares deeply about how the people around you are actually doing, not how they say they're doing, how they truly are. Fey is exquisitely sensitive to the emotional weather of a room, and when Fey is combined with NI in silence, something remarkable happens. You begin to hold space for someone in a way that feels, to them, like being held, even if you never touch them, even if you never say a word. This is love. It just doesn't look like the love most people are trained to recognize. The problem, of course, is that not everyone speaks this language. Some of the people you love will interpret your quiet as coldness, as distance, as you pulling away, and this can be one of the more painful misunderstandings of INFJ life. you are offering them the deepest thing you have, your undivided, unhurried presence, and they are experiencing it as absence. This is not because they don't love you. It is because they were taught, as most people were, that love must be loud to be real, that silence between two people means something is wrong, that connection requires constant verbal reassurance. And so when you go still, they feel abandoned, even though you have never been more present with them in your life. If this has hurt you before, it makes sense that it did. You were being misread at the exact moment you were being most vulnerable. Because, make no mistake, offering someone your silence is a form of vulnerability. It means trusting that they can feel you without you having to prove you're there. Not everyone can, and that, too, is information. You may have noticed that the people who can meet you in silence are the ones you keep. The friend who can sit next to you on a long drive, and neither of you feels the need to talk. The person who can read next to you in the same room for hours, and it feels like a conversation. The partner who understands that when you go quiet after a hard day, you are not shutting them out. You are letting them into a part of you that has no words yet. These are your people, the ones who understand that silence with you is not empty, it is full. There is research from the psychologist John Cacioppo, who spent much of his career studying loneliness, that speaks to this directly. Cacioppo found that loneliness is not about being alone, it is about feeling unseen. You can be surrounded by people and feel profoundly lonely if none of them can perceive who you actually are. And you can be in complete silence with one person and feel more connected than you have felt in years because that person sees you. For the INFJ, being seen in silence is often the deepest form of intimacy possible. More than being told you are loved, more than being touched, being seen without having to perform, without having to explain, without having to translate yourself into someone else's language. This is what your nervous system has been searching for. And when you find it, you know, sometimes within minutes of meeting the person, your body relaxes in a way it rarely does. Your NI stops scanning for threats. Your face stops calculating how you're being perceived. You are simply there. And so are they. If you have someone like this in your life, that is a gift. If you don't yet, that does not mean you never will. It means you are still becoming fluent in your own language, learning that your silence is not a failure of expression, but its highest form. You don't have to change how you love. You just need to be around people who can receive it. The next time you find yourself quiet around someone you care about, notice what is actually happening. Notice how much of you is present. Notice everything you are perceiving about them, everything you are holding, everything you are offering without saying a word. You are not being distant. You are being deeply, unmistakably wholly there. That is love in your native tongue. If this way of loving felt familiar to you, you are not alone. There are others who love this way too, watching this in the same quiet hour you are. If you'd like to stay a while, subscribe, and let this be a place you return to when the world feels too loud, a quiet place for deep minds.